What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Nick with Leverage Media, and welcome to another episode of the Path to a Million podcast. I should probably turn the name of this podcast into the Coronavirus Stimulus Bill podcast, because it seems like all I'm talking to people about. All right, I'm going to start doing some Facebook Lives throughout the day of answering important questions that I think a lot of you have, and I'll put the question as the title. So if you do have specific questions, just be sure to leave a comment below with the specific question. I've got a list of them that I'll get through, but if I run out of the questions I have, then I will just start pulling some that I think lots of people have asked. So a lot of the things that you will ask will probably be in one of these questions. So the first question is, how will the loan amount be calculated? So hopefully you guys, if you have not watched the kind of baseline videos where I explain how the package works, please go watch that, because I'm going to try to be as specific as possible with these questions. So how the loan amount will be calculated is, if you have been open for more than a year, it will take your payroll costs over the last 12 months from the day that you apply for the loan back 12 months. So let's say you apply on April 1st, it's going to be April 1st, 2019 through March 31st, 2020 are the 12 months that they will calculate those. Your payroll costs will include your salaries and wages for your employees, your state and local taxes that you have to pay for being an employer. Let's see, any type of retirement amounts that you give them, any type of health insurance that you give them, any 1099s. And I'm trying to think, I feel like I'm missing one other thing, but basically anything that could be, vacation, sick time, family leave time, that also qualifies as payroll costs. So anything that is included, that you have paid out in those different forms in the last 12 months, you want to show as much as possible so that your average monthly payroll costs are as high as possible, which means you can borrow as much as you possibly can. So let's say, for example, that your average monthly payroll cost is $20,000 a month. You will be able to take your average monthly payroll cost and multiply it by 2.5. All right. So let's say it's $20,000 your average monthly cost. You multiply that by 2.5, you've got $50,000. That's how much you will be able to get in this loan. All right. That's how they're going to calculate that. Now, if you haven't been open a year, they will calculate it based off of January 1st, 2020 to 2/15/2020, how much payroll you paid in that time. All right. So that is going to be how they calculate how much you are allowed to get. Then you will be able to utilize that money as you see fit. You could use it all, like you could go buy, a lot of toilet paper with that, maybe a few rolls of toilet paper with that. You could spend it on whatever you want, but there will only be these certain categories that allow you to get it forgiven at the end. So, and we talked about that a lot. That's going to be your payroll costs, your rent, your interest on mortgage payments for your commercial building, interest on any business debt that you have, as well as health insurance premiums. So if you use it for those categories, anything you use in those categories will be relieved at the end, as long as your payroll meets 75%, like during those 8 weeks, as long as it meets 75% of what your payroll costs were before February 15th. And I believe you have to keep the same number of people on your payroll to be able to qualify. If you reduce it below 75%, or you reduce the number of employees, I believe I know for a fact, if you reduce the payroll amount, that will reduce the amount of forgiveness that you get. And if you reduce the amount of employees, I believe that reduces the amount of reimbursement you get. Cameron asked, is this in reference to the SBA disaster loans? No, this is the Paycheck protection program that is in the CARES Act, which is probably going to be voted on in the House today. If not today, then tomorrow. They had a snag with somebody objecting to unanimous consent. So So they're actually having to try to get a quorum of people, and people are having to fly back into DC for it, blah, blah, blah. But it'll be passed by tomorrow. It'll get signed immediately, and the wheels will start turning. The SBA disaster loans, those are a different program. Those are based off of, that's an actual loan that will not be forgiven, at least as of right now. Those loans, you can borrow up to $2 million, but you have to pay that stuff back. You can use them for whatever, but you have to pay those back. Those are at 3.75%, and you can pay them back either in 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years, I believe. So hopefully that answers your question. So that's everything. Remember, 2.5 times of whatever your average monthly payroll cost was in the last 12 months, or if you're less than a year in practice, January 1st to February 15th. You take that average monthly, multiply it by 2.5. Remember, you want to get as much stuff in there as you can to make that monthly average as high as possible so that you can have as much money to work with as possible. So hopefully that helps, and we'll see you on the next one.